It's transfer deadline day here in Season 2 of our realistic Crystal Palace career mode, but I'm kind of hoping all of our business is already done. After a disappointing Season 1, we've already been forced to sell 3 of our best players in Eberechi Eze, Mark Gahey, and Jean-Philippe Mateta. And we've already spent £94 million trying to replace them, bringing in Trevor Chalobah from Chelsea on a permanent deal, as well as Giannis Constantelius, Tammy Abraham, Milan Van Eyck, Sumaila Koulibaly, and Thomas Strakosha. Now, we do still have about 25 million left to spend, but I think it's going to be sensible to save some of that until January. And having sold so many important first-team players already, I'm not willing to move on from anybody else. So transfer deadline day does tick away with no additional business for us at the very least. There have been some big deals going on around the leagues, though. The Milan clubs going hard this transfer window. Inter Milan, I believe that's Inter Milan anyway, signing Rodrigo. AC Milan signing Nico Williams, both for fees in the region of 110, 115 million. Arsenal, big pickup for them in Tchouaméni. Jonathan Tah joins Bilbao for close to 100 million. Dembele goes to Madrid. Man City lose Gvardiol to Paris Saint-Germain. Martinelli leaves the Premier League for Barcelona, but Diogo Costa, Unai Simon, couple of goalkeepers arrive in the Premier League. Kai Havertz makes the switch across London from Arsenal to West Ham, but Diogo Jota moves from Liverpool to Arsenal. We saw Jota kind of destroy us in the final episode of Season 1. Benjamin Šeško joins Newcastle United, another big addition up front for them to join Alexander Isak. Heung-min Son joins Roma to replace, I guess, Tammy Abraham, whilst Jonathan David joins Aston Villa. He was a guy who was suggested in the comments fairly often, but he was a little out of our league, I would say. Omar Marmoush was also suggested fairly frequently in the comments, and he was somebody I had my eye on very, very closely. However, Frankfurt did win the Europa League last year, and he has joined Monaco for close to 35 million. So again, probably slightly out of our league. And the same goes for Richarlison. We were close to approaching Tottenham to try and make a deal for Richarlison before we brought in Tammy Abraham, but he does end up joining RB Leipzig for over 30 million. So some big deals around the leagues, the Premier League included, and we could be seeing a handful of those players at their new clubs in today's episode. We'll be taking on Newcastle in our first and featured game of the episode in our home opener at Selhurst Park. I'll show you highlights of our trip to Turf Moor to take on newly promoted Burnley, and we'll be quick simming games against Leyton Orient in the Carabao Cup and against Arsenal, both at home. But before that, we need to visit our co-owner and chairman Steve Parish to set some objectives for this season. And we have a quick word from today's sponsor. Today's video is sponsored by Enigma Football, the UK's leading supplier of football shirt mystery boxes just like this one. Enigma stock a wide range of football shirts from clubs from the Big 5 European leagues, from lesser known teams around the world, and even from national teams as well. And you can be 100% certain that their shirts are authentic because they get them straight from the clubs and the manufacturers directly. Their mystery boxes start at just $34.99, and they can be as random or as customized as you like. Of course, you need to specify your shirt size, but you can also let Enigma know if there are any teams or leagues you would like to avoid, if there are any colors or designs that you would prefer, or you can just leave it entirely up to Enigma to choose for you. Enigma had a very good idea of what team I would like to receive, so they sent me this season's Crystal Palace shirt. This exact shirt on the Crystal Palace website would have cost me £60. But if you receive it in a mystery box, you get it almost half that price. And you can knock that price down even further by using code LAMSY at the checkout for a 10% discount on all first orders, including the first month of a mystery box subscription package. So if you're on the lookout for a Christmas gift for the diehard football fan in your life, or if you just want a fun and affordable way to expand your own shirt collection, check out Enigma Football. The link is in the description, and be sure to use code LAMSY at the checkout for 10% off your first order. Shout out to Enigma Football for sponsoring. Now let's get back to the video. So Steve Parish already mentioned in the summer the importance of a top half finish in the Premier League this year, but it's going to be interesting to see what else he has in mind. So Steve Parish reiterates how important it's going to be to finish in the top half of the Premier League this season, and he wants a quarter-final finish in either the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. He did also set us a couple of other objectives that are going to be almost impossible to achieve, so we've had to negotiate there slightly. But these will be our custom objectives for this season, and again, of course, there will be rewards for completing them and consequences for failing them. So firstly, we will continue to prioritize our youth development, playing players aged 21 or under in 90 or more games this season. If we do so, we can sign another 5-star youth scout. If we fail to do so, we need to release once more the 2 highest rated players in our youth academy. Whilst 90 games seems like a lot, we do have a number of first team players like Adam Wharton, like Luca Colliosho, like even Roscoe Torres, who are going to be important players in the first team this season. That also includes players like Joe Bellingham, William Davidson, Koulibaly as well, a new signing, who we want to get in a rotation as much as possible. So barring some significant bad luck with injuries, that should be very much achievable. We are also going to be prioritizing the development of Adam Wharton specifically. We need to play him in 75% of games in all competitions. If we do so, we can extend his contract with a crucial squad role and a pay rise. If we fail to do so, we can't give him the extension, and we actually have to take his captain's armband away. In the Premier League, like Steve Parish said, it is imperative we finish in the top half this season after narrowly missing out last year. If we manage to do so, we could just be 1-star signing away from European football, so we can sign a player between 82 and 85 overall. If we fail again to finish in the top half though, we can't spend any more than 10 million on any individual player in the next transfer window, and instead we just have to wait for our young players to develop. Domestic Cups, we need to reach a quarter-final, so the final 8 in the FA Cup or the Carabao Cup. If we manage to do that, we can convince the chairman to increase the next transfer budget by 20%. If we fail to do so, then we're basically giving up on the cup competitions in the future, and we instead need to play the weakest 11 available in all future domestic cup fixtures. And then finally, a squad target this year is to extend no more than 3 expiring contracts. There are currently 9 players on expiring deals, some more important than others. Daichi Kamada would of course be the most important, but we do have Odson Edouard, who's going to be fighting for a place in the team as he enters the final year of his deal. We also have Czech Decore, who I am still very much undecided on. The jury is still out on whether he's going to be a Crystal Palace player going forward. We have a couple of older players, kind of squad players like Jefferson Lerma, like Rob Holding, and then we have a handful of promising youngsters as well. Ahamada being probably the most exciting of the bunch, but we also have Killian Phillips, we have Adramola, and we have David Ozo. So we're going to have to think carefully about who we want to stick around, because we can only choose 3 of those to extend. If we do only extend 3, then Steve Parish is going to be happy that we're reducing the wage bill, and is going to reallocate that money elsewhere, increasing our next transfer budget by a further 5%. Now, we can choose to extend 4 or more of those contracts, but it would come with a price. We wouldn't be able to promote any youth academy players to the first team this season. So we're setting ourselves some high expectations, but based on what we saw in the first episode of the season, beating Tottenham Hotspur away from home, narrowly losing with 10 men to Manchester United, I see no reason why we can't do big things this year. But if we are going to get top half this season, we'll need to continue to get big results against big clubs like Newcastle, our first opponents of the episode, who have not only signed Mark Gahey, but have also made a number of other interesting additions like Jarell Kwanzaa, who is a centre-back that I had my eye on if we couldn't get Trevor Chalobah, and also, of course, Benjamin Šeško, who should offer some more firepower for them up front. So without further ado, let's head over to Selhurst Park for not only our home opener of the Premier League season, but also the return of Mark Gahey.
attending Selhurst Park. Enjoy the match.
So Mark Gahey returns to Selhurst Park, but in a Newcastle United shirt rather than a Crystal Palace one. Standing ovation from the Selhurst Park crowd for Mark Gahey, who was a stalwart at the back for us last season. Extremely reliable, captain of the club. But we are moving forward into a new era. And Adam Wharton is, I would imagine, the youngest ever captain for Crystal Palace. Just 21 years old. We're putting a lot on his shoulders. But he's our captain this year, and we are going to be aiming to play him in 75% of games in all competitions this year. So he's going to have a big role. He's going to have to be a real leader for us. Couple of interesting decisions from Oliver Glasner in this one. Firstly, Tyrick Mitchell gets the nod at left back ahead of Roscoe Torres. And I think we'll see a lot of rotation. Good save, Dean Henderson early. I think we'll see a lot of rotation between those two at left back this season. And I think we'll be utilising Tyrick Mitchell in games like today, where we need to prioritise defending rather than attacking. Good challenge, Trevor Chalobah. Get rid, Lacroix. We do get rid, and we do manage to keep hold of the ball. When we can afford to go forward a little more, when we anticipate having a bit more control in the game, then I think we can afford to play Roscoe Torres, who offers a bit more in that department. Struggling to get things going on the front foot here so far today, though. And opposite Tyrick Mitchell, Milan van Ewijk has got the nod because Daniel Munoz, of course, has been suspended after being sent off against Manchester United. The appeal is underway because it was never a red card. It was a perfectly timed challenge, got all of the ball. So we will be appealing that, but as yet he is suspended. Adam Wharton steals it away, can't find Constantelius. It's been a bit of a scrappy start to the game. Opening 10 minutes, neither side really able to find a particular rhythm going forward. And that continues as Maxence Lacroix puts in a good challenge, but can't find Adam Wharton to keep hold of possession. Alexander Isak does start up front for Newcastle today. Benjamin Šeško on the bench, though. Alexander Isak threads it through to Anthony Gordon, who finishes. One opportunity for Newcastle, one goal. And I thought we were dealing with that fairly well. And initially we were. We kind of picked up a good position in front of Alexander Isak with Chris Richards. I thought I'd done the ideal thing there, but Trevor Chalobah just not tight enough to Anthony Gordon whatsoever. I can't do both things with Chris Richards. I'm trying to hold a position where I can take away the shot at one of the posts and just have Dean Henderson focused on saving any shots towards the other, but then also trying to hold my position enough that I can get across to Anthony Gordon if Alexander Isak does release the ball in that direction. But I need a little help from Trevor Chalobah there at the very least. And Newcastle, to be honest, all over us to start the game. These opening 15 minutes or so have not been good. And Newcastle are on the prowl once more. Lacroix beaten. Perfect pass into the feet of Isak. Chris Richards deals well with it this time, though. Constantelius. Quick counter-attacks are what we're looking for. And Tammy Abraham collects. That's a bad challenge. The ball goes out of play. I think after Mark Gahey just puts it out for a corner. But I think it's going to be a free kick instead. It was a poor challenge. Not sure who that was in a Newcastle shirt who put the challenge in, but it wasn't a good one. Constantelius lops the ball into the box towards Tammy Abraham, who gets the shot away initially, and it bobbles up into the air. The header straight at Nick Pope, who clears away. Constantelius, I think we need to see him making an impact in today's episode. He had a fairly quiet episode 1. Kolyosho needs to make that run in behind. Van Eyck just having to turn back. And Kamada switches play to Tyrick Mitchell, who's in plenty of space on the left-hand side. Adam Wharton just carries the ball forward. Not too much more he can do with it at this stage. Luca Kolyosho finds Van Eyck, who is offside. You cannot be offside there. You simply cannot be just standing offside. And it's not particularly close. Really, really complacent play from Milan Van Eyck. More promising signs, though, in the last couple of minutes. Sandro Tonali playing in midfield for Newcastle today as well. It's a great challenge, Chris Richards. Can't win the second ball, though, and he's going to be caught out of position now. We're going to be in trouble. Thankfully, Anthony Gordon takes the shot on early. Can we find Luca Kolyosho? No, we can't. Somehow, Lewis Hall was back in a position to defend almost immediately. Isak finds Gordon. I mean, we've done a decent job defensively there. I mean, we're going to look for Kolyosho again because Lewis Hall a little slower getting back this time. And Kolyosho does collect. Daichi Kamada with a good run. And we just lob it into the channel in search of him. Kolyosho up in support. Adam Wharton on the edge of the box. We do just about find him. I don't think he's going to be able to get the shot away, though. Kolyosho in towards Abraham, who finishes for the equaliser. I think there's a flag up. The flag is up for offside. How can that be offside? That must be so... Oh, Tammy Abraham just leaning forward. And the upper portion of his body just in front of the defensive line. Oh, that's so brutal. I thought we had the equaliser. Much, much better in the last 15 minutes or so, though. We had a really poor 10 or 15 minutes to open the game. But we've looked a lot better in the last 10. Big switch of play to Tyrick Mitchell, who drives towards the Newcastle penalty area, but it's a really poor touch on the chest. Again, Tyrick Mitchell prioritised for his defending today. I think Roscoe Torres would have made more of that. Adam Wharton back to defend Joel Linton. Sandro Tonali. Couple of options. He finds Isak. It's a lovely pass into the feet of Anthony Gordon. And it's a good save, Dean Henderson. Gordon with the quick feet. Kind of feinting one way, then the other. And then going back the way he had threatened to go in the first place. Tammy Abraham can't win it back. Thankfully, Van Eyck can, and he can wriggle away from Sandro Tonali. Decent amount of pace has Van Eyck, to say the least. Luca Kolyosho makes some kind of a run. He's just sprinting directly ahead of me. Just not useful whatsoever. What could be useful here, though, is a Crystal Palace corner. Tammy Abraham, we have seen a danger from these kind of situations, as well as the likes of Chalobah, Lacroix. Instead, we somehow aim for Daichi Kamada. Tammy Abraham at the back post, though. Constantelius just stands it up. Headed clear by Newcastle, though. Gordon can come away on the counter-attack. Van Eyck slows him down. Gordon once more, however, finds Alexander Isak, who has been pretty influential in the game so far for Newcastle. Linking the play nicely, causing threats of his own, but also bringing in the likes of Anthony Gordon. Kamada can't quite get the footing to dispossess Gordon. We've seen he's been an issue for us in the past as well, Anthony Gordon. So much pace, really quick feet. It's a shot from range, which Dean Henderson saves comfortably. And we'll see if Van Eyck can drive forward on the right-hand side. Anthony Gordon unfortunately tracks him all the way. Daichi Kamada just lays it off to Trevor Chalobah. Chalobah, for some reason, not in particularly good shape heading into this game. I'm not sure why. We've had a big layoff since our last game. But Trevor Chalobah as well as Adam Wharton, they're both a little short of full match fitness. So how far they continue into the second half, I'm not sure. Daichi Kamada has managed to pull off his man. That did not sound as I imagined it would as it came out of my mouth. But regardless, Newcastle managed to deal with the danger once more. And really, I think since Newcastle have scored, we've arguably looked to the better side. I do quite often say that, and when I come to watch the games back, it really doesn't look that way on second viewing. But it kind of feels that way. I mean, we haven't dominated Newcastle by any means, but I feel like since Newcastle have scored, we've been the team that's caused more threat. Maybe not a particularly high XG. Get up, get up. Well done, Dean Henderson. Maybe not a particularly high XG, but an expected threat, which should be decently high. And Constantelius picks the ball up, cuts in onto his right foot, curls it towards the far corner. And I thought maybe there was a foul in there. A late challenge from the Newcastle defender. I guess the referee didn't see enough contact to blow the whistle. But it certainly impacted Constantelius as he got the shot away. It wasn't a particularly good one. Koleosho with the foot in, though. We can pin Newcastle back a little bit here. Tammy Abraham applying the pressure along with Luca Koleosho. Really forcing Newcastle back right into the corner. And if Koleosho can nick this away from Lewis Hall, which he almost does, I think it's going to be a goal kick, and it is. Unfortunate. Tammy Abraham, they're saying, is a little short of match fitness as well, but he was healthy enough heading into the game. I have bumped the injury sliders up just a little bit as well. Still trying to find those perfect values to get injuries frequently, but not just to get the same injuries over and over again. Isak, can he create the final chance of the first half? Oh my God, it was wide. I saw the net ripple. I saw the moisture drip off. And I thought that was in. It's actually hit the stanchion and then brushed against the actual back of the net. I thought we were 2-0 down. What a time that would have been to score for Newcastle. Doubling their lead just as we head into the half-time break. And instead, we're going to be poised potentially to grab an equaliser as we head into the half-time break. But Tyrick Mitchell can't quite get the pass away. Constantelius had made a good run up ahead. Tyrick Mitchell just needed it. One touch out of his feet. Lob it in behind. And Constantelius could have caused some issues for the Newcastle back line, but instead it's going to be a one-goal advantage for Newcastle heading into the half-time break. The single goal provided by Anthony Gordon, who has been impressive for Newcastle in the first half, along with Alexander Isak, but I think we've been decently impressive ourselves. Again, the game plan is working as we anticipated. Try and defend well, break on a quick counter-attack. Just hasn't paid off for us quite yet. So one change at half-time for Oliver Glasner, and it's going to be Trevor Chalobah to leave the field. Made it to half-time, but again, I'm not sure why, but for some reason he is just a little bit short of match fitness at the moment. So Koulibaly actually comes on to replace him. That is a big pass from Constantelius to find Koleosho. Daichi Kamada with a perfect run, found perfectly by Koleosho. What a goal that is! What a goal that is! Unbelievable cross-field pass from Constantelius into Koleosho. He takes a touch, lobs it over to Daichi Kamada, who made a perfect run, brings it down on his chest. Right-footed volley across Nick Pope, tucked perfectly away in the far corner. And within seconds of the restart, we have an equalising goal. Let's really look to build on that here in the second half and make sure we come away with a result here. A goal that good should not be scored in vain. We have to make sure we come away with at least a point here against Newcastle. I would be happy with a point. Obviously, we'd love to win the game, but if we can... I would have taken a point before the game. And especially going one goal down, I think you then have to be ecstatic with a point against Newcastle. I think that's got to be up there for goal of the season as well. I'm going to do a better job this year. Good challenge, Lacroix. You have to get it away, though. Doing the challenge is only half of the task. Tyrick Mitchell does hook clear. I'm going to do a better job this season of grabbing clips for goal of the season, so that can be an additional award come the end of the year. It's no good just asking you guys what you think the goal of the season is without providing you the clips to remind you of how those goals were scored. So I'll make sure that I grab this clip after the game, and that's going to be the first on the shortlist for goal of the season. Koleosho, can he find Abraham? Not quite. I mean, Abraham somehow came down with it. I was certain it was going to be a Newcastle United defender who was first to that, but Tammy Abraham somehow fought through the bodies to come away with that ball. Koleosho once more. Constantelius at the far post. The ball is just kind of in between Constantelius and Tammy Abraham. Van Eyck can recycle and put the ball in himself, though. Tammy Abraham once more gets there. He's gone down. How is that not a penalty? Tammy Abraham gets his foot to the ball. The Newcastle United defender certainly doesn't. Tammy Abraham takes a tumble. And the referee's whistle is silent. Surely that should have been a penalty. Great challenge, Tyrick Mitchell. Finds Adam Wharton. Van Eyck on the right-hand side. Luca Koleosho ahead of him. I've just taken too long to get the pass away. He's going to be offside. I just took too long to get the pass away. It was the perfect run from Luca Koleosho, but the ball kind of just took an extra touch there where it wasn't necessary. I was just trying to give Koleosho an extra kind of half a second to really create some distance between himself and Lewis Hall, the Newcastle right back. Nicely worked from Constantelius. And Tyrick Mitchell gets too much on the cross. Just looking for Tammy Abraham to peel away from the Newcastle defender there, and he kind of did, but Tyrick Mitchell just put too much on it. Sandro Tonali. Daichi Kamada working back. Harvey Barnes now. Tyrick Mitchell kind of 2 against 1 there, but he does a decent job to take away the option ahead of him, which was Tino Livramento, who finds Joel Linton, who in turn finds Alexander Isak, and I'm not sure how he was so wide open in the penalty area there. Really poor defending. And Newcastle do go short to Harvey Barnes. Daichi Kamada is beaten by Anthony Gordon. And it's a shot from range from Bruno Guimaraes. Oh, and I just wanted to get Van Eyck away on that left-hand side there, but Gordon takes the option away. Constantelius. I mean, again, how is there not a foul? Constantelius has taken it down on his chest. The Newcastle player is nowhere close to the ball. He just bumps Constantelius in the back so that he can't control the ball, and the referee does absolutely nothing about it. That's a big save from Dean Henderson at his near post. Newcastle United really starting to work back into the game now after a blazing start to the second half for us. And that's really well headed clear by Tammy Abraham. Guimaraes with a shot from range, blocked by Mitchell. And again we have to hook clear. Van Eyck finds Koleosho. It's a really good run from Kamada. And Koleosho's found him. It's a good run from Tammy Abraham as well, but we just couldn't quite find the gap. Didn't want to lob that over because, I mean, it was a high level of difficulty. I wanted to try and find something a little more certain. A pass, potentially a slightly higher percentage pass. But that's an awful touch from Van Eyck, who heads clear. I'm trying to get you to clear the ball up the field with your foot. I'm not sure how there was any confusion there whatsoever. Koleosho, that's really good defending. Dean Henderson. Maxence Lacroix. I think we'll make another change or two next time the ball goes out of play. Because, again, there are probably going to be some tired legs out on the field. But first we'll find Luca Koleosho. Tammy Abraham, you need to stay onside. I'm certain if I was to cross that in, Tammy Abraham would have been offside. Konstantelius turns, shoots, blocked, out for a corner. That will give us a chance to make a change or two, though. And it'll be interesting to see if Newcastle do the same here. We are seeing a little bit more from Konstantelius today, though. So neither team actually make changes, but there are a couple of substitutes warming up on the Crystal Palace sideline at the very least. Konstantelius does well to win that away from Sandro Tonali. Drives towards the Newcastle box. The cross, again, not an accurate one, but Daichi Kamada shoots! And it flashes wide. Opened up for Daichi Kamada there. But there are a couple of changes now for Oliver Glasner. As Tammy Abraham leaves the field, hasn't quite managed to make his mark on the game today, as he managed to do several times in episode 1, but odds on Edouard on to replace him. He had a big year at Everton last season. At Leicester City rather, last season. Out on loan, scored 10 goals in 18 games. So this is kind of last chance saloon for Odson Edouard. Good save. As he tries to revitalise his Crystal Palace career. It looked like it was over and done with for a moment, but big performance out on loan has earned him another opportunity. Czech Decore also on to replace the captain Adam Wharton. Koleosho brings it down. He's got Alexander Isak for company. He wins the ball away. Really good defending, Alexander Isak. And I think we just need to try and hold on here. I think Newcastle have looked the team more likely to score in the last 10-15 minutes or so. What a challenge that is from Czech Decore. We need to see more of that from him this season if he is going to continue to be a Crystal Palace player. Koleosho in behind. Van Eyck has found him. Konstantelius and Edouard in the box. Koleosho can't find either of them. Harvey Barnes drives Newcastle up the field. Slips it in behind for Alexander Isak. Tyrick Mitchell stops the cross initially, but it is worked back towards Tino Livramento and Bruno Guimaraes. Really nice little reverse pass into the feet of Anthony Gordon, and Tonali with a lovely turn, but it's blocked well by Chris Richards. Konstantelius just has to try and win the header, but we just can't find those wingers. That's one of our primary sources of attack. Immediately, what a challenge that is, Maxence Lacroix. Immediately trying to find those wingers is one of our primary sources of threat, and we just haven't been able to do it today. The Newcastle United fullbacks, obviously having watched plenty of our games in recent weeks, they've seen that's the way we like to attack teams, and they're being very cautious in trying to protect their flanks. Chris Richards finds Lacroix. Tyrick Mitchell will just try and while away a few moments here in the game as we approach the final 10 minutes or so. Daichi Kamada. It's a big challenge. Koulibaly just goes back to Dean Henderson. Lacroix on the left-hand side. Finds Tyrick Mitchell. Heavy pressure from Newcastle, though. Koulibaly again. And if Newcastle are going to give us the space, we'll step up with Koulibaly. We can't give the ball away, though. We cannot give the ball away. I was just about to shake to pass to Tyrick Mitchell on the left-hand side, but Anthony Gordon was the man in pursuit, and I didn't really acknowledge that, because Anthony Gordon does, of course, have unbelievable pace. But Newcastle are going to make another change. Ball to come off for Trippier. I think we'll make our last two changes of the game here as well. So two final changes for Oliver Glasner and Crystal Palace as Luca Koleosho and Daichi Kamada leave the field. Ismail Assar and William Davidson on to replace them. So just looking to protect the scoreline as it stands for the final 5 minutes or so of the game. Good challenge, Chris Richards. And we need somebody to make a run in behind there. Constantelius can't win the header. I was kind of hoping Ismail Assar would just take off as soon as we won the ball back there, but simply didn't. I mean, we have dropped those wingers in slightly deeper for the first. That's not a good challenge. And the referee waves play on. The referee waves play on there somehow. I mean, we complained several times in the game about the referee's reluctance to blow the whistle. But I'm certainly not going to have any complaints there. That was a horrific challenge from Czech Decore. Should have been a booking as well as a free kick. But the referee says nothing doing. And we force Sandro Tonali into a long shot. And I think we can probably just waste the final minute or so here. As Dean Henderson just holds on to the ball for as long as possible. Finds Constantelius. And it's going to be a Newcastle free kick? No, it is a Crystal Palace free kick. So 3 minutes of injury time, all of which have elapsed. However, Ismail Assar could be in for one final opportunity of the game. Ismail Assar, odds on Edouard! No, Nick Pope gets a foot to it. I thought Edouard had the winner. It would have been a tap-in. It would have been the easiest goal Odson Edouard has ever scored. And Nick Pope thrusts out a foot. Oh, we could have won the game. 3 minutes of injury time. Already ticked away, but Ismail Assar suddenly was in behind out of nowhere. And we could have won the game. Would have been a certain goal. I said in the second half, though, at the beginning of the second half, I'd be happy with a point, and I am happy with a point. Coming from a goal down, to get a result against Newcastle United, a very strong side, I think we have to be happy with that, despite the unbelievable chance at the end. And I think looking at the match facts, we have to be happy. 54% possession for Newcastle isn't overwhelming exactly, but 18 shots, 240 passes to just 6 and 147 is. I think take a point, get out of here. And ahead of our second game against Leyton Orient in the Carabao Cup, Chadi Riyad drops by and asks if he's got any chance of being involved. Unfortunately, thanks to those custom objectives that we failed last season, we have to start our strongest 11 in the FA Cup and the Carabao Cup. So while that may not seem like a punishment on the surface, it is going to cause those kind of issues. Players being frustrated that they're left out. It's going to cause some fitness issues since we have a very short layoff ahead of our future Premier League game against Burnley. So there is just one change as Daniel Munoz comes back into the starting 11 in place of Milan van Ewijk, who didn't exactly impress against Newcastle. We didn't exactly impress against Leyton Orient either. It goes to penalties, 2-2 after normal time. Daichi Kamada on the score sheet again in today's episode. Archibald equalises for Leyton Orient. Kamada again with a second goal of the game and a third goal of the episode. But O'Neill equalises for Leyton Orient 2 minutes from time. Kamada scores his penalty, as does Abraham, as does Sarr. Leyton Orient miss all of theirs and we do advance to the next round. But with only 2 full days rest ahead of our next Premier League game against Burnley, we are going to have some less than fit first team players for that fixture, especially since I've decided to only go with the middle 3 options in terms of the training plans. I can't set anybody on all-out performance or all-out energy. I can only do performance, balanced, or energy-focused. Since we do play with acceleration below 50, players don't tire as quickly, and with the 2 most extreme options utilised, it is a little bit too easy to get players at 100% fitness, 100% sharpness, or at least close to it for most of the season. So we're going to narrow our options. We can only go for the middle 3. That's going to encourage us, or force us more accurately, to have to rotate our squad a little bit more often. So there is some pretty heavy rotation as we head into our third game of the episode against newly promoted Burnley. Chadi Riyad does get his chance at the centre of the back 3 alongside Koulibaly and Lacroix. Roscoe Torres comes in at left back. Joe Bellingham starts in centre midfield alongside Adam Wharton as Daichi Kamada moves out to the left-hand side. Constantelius switches over to the right, and it's Odson Edouard getting his first start for us this season ahead of both Tammy Abraham and Eddie Nketiah, who is on the bench. Despite not having our strongest 11 out there, we did manage to control the game well away from home. Giannis Constantelius in particular looked dangerous, cutting in off the right-hand side, getting shots away. Adam Wharton continued to look influential as well, dictating the play, and I was certain he'd opened the scoring for us 20 minutes in, but he put this shot wide somehow. A newly promoted Burnley did look decent. They managed to create a few opportunities of their own. Thankfully, Dean Henderson was equal to each and every one of them. But it was our two danger men who combined for the opening goal. Constantelius again ploughing down the right-hand side, pulling it back for Adam Wharton. One touch, finish, 1-0 Crystal Palace. And when substitute Eddie Nketiah stole the ball away from the Burnley centre-back in the second half, I was certain he would double our lead. But like Adam Wharton, he failed to find the target. And the same can be said for Joe Bellingham late in the game when Daichi Kamada found him unmarked in the penalty area. But once more, we failed to test the Burnley keeper. But thankfully, as the game was ebbing away, Daichi Kamada took matters into his own hand, driving to the touchline, cutting back onto his right foot and finishing into the top of the net to make it 2-0 Palace and to secure the win away from home. So it could have been 3 or 4-0 in this one, but I think we have to be happy with a 2-0 victory, especially since, again, we were away from home. Been putting in some impressive performances away from Selhurst Park this season, and I think that's going to give us a foundation to kick on towards the top half, which is certainly our objective this year. So that does bring us to our fourth and final game of the episode as we host Arsenal at Selhurst Park. The episode has gone pretty much as well as we could have hoped so far, and we are kind of playing with house money here, expecting to lose, obviously hoping to avoid doing so, but we do indeed get absolutely smashed by Arsenal 4-1, and it's to be expected. I'm not too disappointed about that, to be honest, based on how the episode has gone so far. But Diogo Jota with a couple of goals in the first half. Tammy Abraham pops up with one as well. That's his 5th goal already in a Crystal Palace shirt. Reece Nelson still playing for Arsenal here. And Diogo Jota does manage to get his hat-trick 10 minutes from time. So as I said, the month of September went pretty much as well as we could have expected. We did progress to the next round of the Carabao Cup. I'm not sure we can afford to quick sim any more Carabao Cup fixtures, so we may be playing our next one depending on our opponent. But we took 4 points from a possible 9 in the Premier League, and that's really not too bad when you consider we faced both Newcastle United and Arsenal. Arsenal are currently top of the table, having lost just one of their opening 6 fixtures. Newcastle United are in 5th position. We find ourselves in 9th, having won 3, drawn 1, lost 2. So we've got 10 points from our opening 6 games, which is really not too bad at all, considering we have played Tottenham, Manchester United, Newcastle United, and Arsenal. I think we have to be thrilled with 10 points from 18, considering those fixtures. Things do get a little easier next month, on paper at the very least. We have games against Brentford, Sheffield United, Bournemouth in the Carabao Cup to get to. We may be playing this game because we do need to make a quarter-final this season, and I don't trust quick simming against Bournemouth. We do have Aston Villa to take on in the Premier League, which is going to be a tough fixture, but we've beaten them before. We can beat them again, especially at Selhurst Park. So it's another string of positive results as we continue our extremely good start here in Season 2. We'll look to continue that even further in the next episode. I hope to see you there. Take it easy.